Whenever you think of InfoWars, I can guarantee the first thing that pops in your head is their figurehead Alex Jones, a man who is so ludicrous and insane, but it still surprises people when you tell them he's playing a character. And when you think of the YouTubers who joined UKIP, the ones you'll think of will be Sargon of Akkad and Count Dankula, a pair of walking stereotypes for their respective areas of Britain, but people who are both fairly well-rounded. Well, what if I told you that there's actually another man who reps for InfoWars and also joined UKIP at the same time as those two? He just never gets the headline media attention, because while his opinions are just as batshit as Alex Jones, they're not quite as entertaining. Alex Jones screams about water turning frogs gay, insists that American left-wing politicians are sacrificing children to Satan to give themselves energy, and tears his shirt off to go screaming into the night. And then there's Paul Joseph Watson, a man who insists that people with tattoos are stupid and that love is a mental illness. Yeah, I'm still waiting on the day he comes out with skateboarding is for people with brain damage, or denim isn't cool anymore. I'm sorry your skater girl broke up with you, Paul. You just need to let go. Yeah, I tend to not take him too seriously, and I just assume that he's playing a character much like Alex Jones is, but at least Alex goes all the way. He's actually fucking nuts. Paul just whinges about things he doesn't like and asserts that he must be right because... I don't know, because he says so. But a video popped up by him the other day, and because I was clearly far too bored, I decided, fuck it, I'll give it a watch, and wow, there's a lot to unpack from this, so I'm just going to have to dive right in. If you want to watch someone more professional than me go over all of Paul's weird opinions, go check out Elvis the Alien. He made a video a while back going over them, and his video is going to be a lot better than mine. But I wanted to focus in on just this video because, yeah, like I said, there's a lot. Oh, I didn't know we were playing End War. Nice. So he starts by saying that Alan Moore doesn't like the Marvel movies. Yeah, that's not too surprising. Alan Moore doesn't seem to like anything, from what I've seen. Not even the movies based on his own works.
The West is overrun by fragile man-babies regressing back to their childhoods because of their sheer terror at the prospect of adulthood.
Yeah, what people classify as adulthood is pretty miserable these days. Speaking just for Britain, it's almost impossible to get a house before you're 30, 0-hour contracts are fast becoming the norm, and you can be jailed and fined hundreds of pounds just for saying rude things. Yet no one's ever stated that being an adult is really a positive thing. He then plays a clip of someone freaking the fuck out at unboxing a PS4. He does this a lot in this video. He plays clips of individuals overreacting as if they're an indication of a cultural norm. It's an inherently dishonest argumentative tactic, and I'll be treating it as such.
What exactly did Alan Moore say? I think the impact of superheroes on popular culture is both tremendously embarrassing and not a little worrying. While these characters were originally perfectly suited to stimulating the imaginations of their 12 or 13-year-old audience, today's franchised Ubermenschen aimed at a supposedly adult audience seem to be serving some kind of different function and fulfilling different needs. Primarily, mass-market superhero movies seem to be abetting an audience who do not wish to relinquish their grip on A, their relatively reassuring childhoods, or B, the relatively reassuring 20th century.
Okay, let's pick this quote apart slowly. These characters were originally suited to stimulating the imaginations of 12 to 13-year-old audiences. Yes, originally suited, as in when they were originally created. Almost 80 years ago. The genre's evolved since then, and Alan Moore seems to address this. Today's superheroes aimed at a supposedly adult audience seem to be serving a different function. Yes, I agree with this. I just don't agree with the conclusion he comes to. Abetting an audience who don't want to relinquish their childhoods. Right, so they seem to be mainly bitching about the MCU, so I won't even bother mentioning things like the Nolan Batman movies. I'll just stick to the Marvel films. This has been a fascinating opinion that many online have kept over the last few years, that the MCU is all the same movies just repackaged. And yes, it is. Just like Halo and Call of Duty are the exact same, or Zelda and Mario, or baseball and cricket. It's a shallow analysis of a vast array of movies that often serve very different purposes. I've wanted to talk about this ever since PewDiePie made a video, but I'll try and keep it to Paul and Moore's points here. So apparently the MCU only exists to let people cling to their childhoods. Yes, Thor acting like a man-child, crying at his father, only to get slapped down and taught to act like a grown-up.
You are unworthy of these realms. You're unworthy of your title. You're unworthy.
And to be rewarded for learning this lesson is for people who cling to their childhoods. And now Paul plays a montage clip of people reacting to the Endgame trailer, and focuses in on the one girl in the corner who's tearing up at it. Now I'm actually going to address this one for two reasons. One, he focuses in on that one girl while ignoring all the other people who were just sort of sitting and soaking it in. Two, Avengers Infinity War was a fucking incredible movie with an emotional ending that left a lot of people expecting big things in the sequel, and considering that Endgame is a massive celebration of the entire decade of the MCU, one that a lot of people in their early 20s grew up with, yeah, it's gonna make you emotional watching this trailer, so fucking what?
Moore went on to point out that superhero movies made for children remaining so popular amongst adults is not only an indictment of the increasingly infantilized nature of the individual, it's another telltale sign that our culture in general is mired in a state of insipid stagnation. The continuing popularity of these movies to me suggests some kind of deliberate self-imposed state of emotional arrest combined with a numbing condition of cultural stasis that can be witnessed in comics, movies, popular music, and indeed right across the cultural spectrum.
What? Well, cultural stasis has nothing to do with people being immature. It's got to do with almost everything these days being reboots, remakes, and sequels. And yeah, there's arguments to be made regarding that, but self-imposed state of emotional arrest? I don't even know what that's supposed to fucking mean. These statements are so vague.
Alan Moore is right.
No, Alan Moore is actually very rarely right. He's a brilliant creator, his works are astounding, but his opinions are quite distorted. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, but it is relevant. Now, if you're a fan of Watchmen, you've probably seen this quote floating around from Alan Moore. I wanted to make Rorschach as like, this is what Batman would be in the real world. But I have forgotten that actually, to a lot of comic book fans, smelling, not having a girlfriend, these are actually kind of heroic. So Rorschach became the most popular character in Watchmen. I made him to be a bad example. But I have people come up to me in the street and saying, I am Rorschach, that is my story. And I'd be thinking, yeah, great, could you just like keep away from me, never come anywhere near me again as long as I live? I've actually wanted to talk about this quote for a while. I just knew it would never fill a full video, so thank you, Paul, actually. No, Rorschach wasn't beloved to fans because he was a smelly, single guy. He's beloved because despite his interpersonal faults, he was a good man. Yes, he's an interesting critique of Batman, that if he really did these things in real life, he'd likely not have a social life and end up as quite miserable and off-putting, but that doesn't inherently make him a bad person. He was a man who cared about doing the right thing. He was ignored by everyone around him as a nutjob conspiracy theorist, and actually quite a similar way to Ted Kord during the Countdown to Infinite Crisis. And sadly enough, it ends the same way. He has such powerful convictions that he won't tolerate injustice, even if it was for a perceived greater good. And he pays for it with his life. And he knows it. He faces a man who may as well be a god with no fear, no regret, just an anger at the world he lived in and the fate he recognised he'd have to accept. He died a good man, a man with principles. Maybe not a man who'd be pleasant to be around, but is that really the value of a person? In seeing Rorschach fans in this way, it exposes Alan Moore to actually a very similar mindset as Paul. You don't view something the way as I do, so you're just wrong. And ironically enough, it's a very childish viewpoint.
We've all been socially engineered to overshare, to become emotionally incontinent, blubbering, testosterone-deficient wrecks.
Yes, because a safe space would feature a movie that dwells upon the crippling side effects of PTSD on a personality and show the one suffering from it not retreat into himself and hide from the world, but emerge victorious and smiling. He then goes on to praise the Joker. Hey Paul? Hey Paul? The Joker got a box office of over $1 billion, and that was without China. So maybe that tells you something about the movie-going audience these days. Hell, it took fucking Deadpool.
Martin Scorsese is right. Superhero comic book films are not cinema. They're theme parks inside cinemas, and theme parks are for children.
Yeah, that's why theme park rides can have age and height restrictions, and ever since they've been created have been frequented by people of all ages.
Star Wars, that's also for children. When I was growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, the only people who liked Star Wars were kids below the age of 12.
Yeah. So, when you were in the late 80s and early 90s, you were 12. So it's likely the only people you knew were 12. This logic's retarded, sir, but it checks out.
Always be with you. Bruh.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend this. Modern Star Wars is a load of shit. Oh, no, not you, not you. You're a good show with actual soul and emotion.
Notice how an army of woke cum-brains rush to the defense of this guy because they're also mental juveniles stuck in a permanent state of stunted adolescence.
Oh, they're all ideologues trying to defend their shit feminist movies at absolutely any cost.
No one with a fully developed prefrontal cortex should get this emotional over a children's movie.
Right, I'm done with this. You know what a children's movie is? Fucking Angry Birds. You know what a children's movie is? Dora the Explorer. Do you know what a children's movie is? Stuart Little. Roar. Those movies are for children. Movies like the MCU and Star Wars are for all ages. And as said earlier, acting like liking these movies is some cardinal sin that removes your adult pass is quite frankly more childish than anything else.
It's not normal adult behaviour.
And what is normal adult behaviour, Paul? Scoffing at every expression of emotion like the retarded posh blokes in the modern Alice in Wonderland movies. He then restates his firm belief that Star Wars is for children, because repeating something that you believe in an effort to make people believe it is what normal adults do.
Over the anticipation of consuming a product, it's for children.
Yes, boiling a movie, an experience that draws you in and, as said earlier, has been with many people for a large portion of their life, is just for children. He then quotes a meme while showing said meme. And yeah, I'll mock Bob, the Nazis ruined eugenics for the rest of us Chipmen any day of the week, but imagine thinking he's the standard of MCU and Star Wars fans. Oh, could I please remind you of the utter death of Solo at the box office? Yeah, that's what happens when these movies go bad. People don't just cling to them.
Halloween, that's for children.
Yeah, this is something he does in a lot of his videos too. He picks up a short, couple-word catchphrase and stamps it to death in the video. And how interesting. Coming up with something you think is smart and or funny, and just constantly repeating it. Doesn't that sound like something a child would do? And yeah, adults celebrate Halloween. It's an opportunity for the more creative amongst us to create cool costumes, and for us it's just an excuse to go out and get shit-faced. So, masquerade balls were a staple of high society in the Renaissance period, and it's just a modern take on it. Yeah,
Throwing violent tantrums because you didn't get your food.
Another single individual being a dickhead. You ever hear of Karens, Paul? It happens. Yes, an individual either being autistic, fucking with the staff, or both. One guy. Fucking incredible, Paul. This says so much about our society. Well, you don't provide any kind of source on this, but I've got to assume it's Black Friday, and yeah, people are greedy bastards. And that sucks. This has been a part of our culture as long as we've had a culture.
Emotional support pets. That's for children.
Or for people with serious mental issues, and it's not like every other person has an emotional support. But seriously, Paul, is this entire video just you pointing at individuals and saying, everyone's like them, people bad? How oddly childish.
With adult colouring books. That's for children.
I hadn't heard about this. I don't know. People who aren't very talented want to feel like they are. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry, this is such a terrible thing. I just don't see it.
And pretending to be a baby in diapers while frolicking around in a playpen to satiate you and your boyfriend's weird fetish.
Age play is not sexually stimulating to me in any way, shape, or form.
That's not for children.
I'm not going to defend that shit. That shit's fucking weird. But again, it's not like every other person's into this, Paul. I'm not sure what you're trying to say.
Millennials are so innately infantile that they had to invent a word to remind them how to behave like adults. Adulting, to carry out one or more of the duties and responsibilities expected of fully developed individuals, paying off that credit card debt, settling beef without blasting social media, etc., exclusively used by those who adult less than 50% of the time.
Right, but they're not using it to make themselves feel like it's an achievement. It's just a word they're using to say, shit, gotta do some inherently negative tasks now. So fucking what?
So TV shows that are becoming increasingly more lowbrow to meet the needs of a sophomoric audience. Comedy and late night shows, which once at least reached for some pretense of sophistication, now reduced to puerile, immature nonsense.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend late night TV, it's shit. And most people who like it only like it because they parrot their left-wing talking points. Trust me, I'd like to do some videos on John Oliver and his inherently dishonest ways of presenting information sometimes, but I don't see this as childish, it's just shit.
Coming down of television news also condescends to us like we're little kids. CNN using cartoons to explain Obamacare.
They don't have health insurance. Not good if you're worried about falling down a hill.
It's cheaper than hiring actors? I don't know. Again, you act like this is some sort of big gotcha.
BBC News presenters having to explain what the word capital means.
There's been that huge plunge as well into capital coming into the country. Capital, just money coming into the country. You devaluate the currency, inflation goes up, it's a mess.
Assuming a level of intellect that would normally be ascribed to children.
Well, this I can explain actually. British students don't get a great education on economics. We never get taught about capital. Hell, I was over 20 before I found out how taxes work. Yeah, that sucks. I'd like it to change. But is the BBC trying to make sure people are informed a bad thing? No, it's their fucking job. Well, there's a number of factors that could play into this. Abortion rates increasing, people becoming more hostile towards each other, causing less relationships. Hell, people are becoming smarter and not getting knocked up when they're not ready to support a child. Making responsible decisions about your life, that's for adults.
Obsession with superheroes also related to the increasingly atomized nature of society and the breakdown of the family.
Wait, what? Hang on, Paul. Did you really just fucking say that because the MCU is coming out, that's the cause of people having relationship struggles and less childbirths? You know who you are, Paul? You're the mothers of the 70s and 80s who said D&D was causing Satanism. You're the frantic Republicans of the last couple of decades insisting that video games are causing gun violence. You see something that you don't like, you don't understand, and you say, this is responsible for all ills in life. Paul, you are Anita Sarkeesian. You are the people that the centrists on YouTube have mocked for years.
Is it any wonder that ketamine is now the drug of choice for many 30-somethings? Ketamine is the new E. As Anna Silman writes in 2019, escaping isn't just something you do for fun, it's a survival tactic at a time where the world feels so inescapably stressful and out of control.
I mean, is this just a new version of people getting drunk to avoid their problems?
According to a new Canada University Laval study, binge porn watching is also literally causing brain damage that leads to overly impulsive behaviour, like in children.
You know what else does that? Drug abuse, alcohol abuse. It's almost like things people use for coping mechanisms damages them. Oh, what's that you got in your profile pic, Paul? A cigarette? Well, did you know that when a frequent smoker doesn't get some, they become irritable and snap at people, like children? It's almost like you can cherry pick things and use them as a critique when it's entirely just a narrative you're pushing.
According to Professor Paul Kindlen, America is suffering from an epidemic of arrested emotional development, AED. AED. AED is characterized by some combination of addiction, greed, immaturity, fear, blame, shame, resentments, anger, confusion, and suffering. This is manifesting itself everywhere.
And what's that? I say that? Yes, because greed, fear, shame, and anger have never existed before the Marvel movies came out. He ends his video by bitching about the outspoken left wing of the country, and yeah, people destroying statues, that's awful. People who are struggling with their identity and are jumping in to label themselves with a million genders, well, that's awful too, but in a different way.
And I get it. A lot of millennials have no choice but to live with their parents because boomers ruined the economy by causing massive property inflation and stagnating wages. And that's stunting their development into adulthood. But aside from the economic factors...
Oh, so now you understand that there's wider context to things. Bit late for that, mate.
A lot of this seems to be born out of social and cultural engineering.
Ah, there's the info wars I've been waiting for.
Now it's socially acceptable for adults to cry over superhero movies.
Well, for something like Infinity War Endgame, yeah, I'd say it is, but Star Wars 9, no, I don't think so.
Throw public tantrums over Szechuan sauce.
No, people collectively mocked this guy. What world were you living in that people thought this was acceptable?
And desperately flee from the mere hint of any form of responsibility in life.
No, I don't think so. Paul, all you're doing in this video is pointing at shitty things and going, yeah, this is all connected, when it really isn't. And acting like just because Alan Moore and Robin Scorsese agreeing with you makes you right? Well, we saw all those actors crying about Trump, didn't we? There's nothing fucking wrong with superhero movies. There's a lot wrong with modern Star Wars, sure, but people tend to be rejecting those, which quite frankly gives me faith in humanity. There's always going to be weird people in life, and thanks to the internet we get to see them more. But acting like this is some brand new phenomenon, acting like the problem that you're seeing is some brand new problem that's caused by something you don't like. Well, it's like you keep saying, Paul, that's for children. MCU is the path to degeneracy. MCU leads to enjoyment. Enjoyment leads to childishness. Childishness leads to coomers.